You know, when we talk about the US-China trade negotiations, it's easy to get lost in all the big numbers and complicated policies. But today, we're going to focus on one specific piece of the puzzle, a surprisingly powerful one: soybeans.
And if you want to know just how big a deal this has become, listen to this quote from an analyst. He said, "Soybeans, that's like the new rare earths for China here." I mean, think about that for a second. A simple crop that you grow in a field is being compared to these super strategic minerals that are essential for technology. That's the level we're talking about.
So it just begs the question, right? How in the world did we get here? How did a simple farm crop become this massive weapon in a global trade war? Well, let's unpack it.
Okay, so to really get why this one crop has so much power, we've got to look at the numbers. And this is what we're calling the soybean squeeze.
The scale of this whole thing is just staggering. For years, China wasn't just a customer for American soybean farmers, they were pretty much the customer. We're talking anywhere from 30 to 60% of the entire US crop going to one country. When you're that dependent on one buyer, well, that leaves you wide open.
And look, this wasn't some new thing. This has been the reality for decades. It was the bedrock of the entire business. American farmers planted their fields year after year, basically knowing China would be there to buy it all. It was this reliable, predictable economic engine until it wasn't.
Because this harvest, that relationship that was built over decades, just got completely cut off. The number of Chinese purchases from the current US harvest? A big, fat zero. Just let that sink in for a minute. An entire multi-billion-dollar market gone. Just like that. The tap wasn't just turned down, it was shut off completely.
Now you have to understand, this was no accident. This wasn't just the market doing its thing. No, this was a calculated, strategic play with a very specific clock on it. It kicked off this incredibly tense 8-week standoff, a real high-stakes waiting game.
And you can just feel the pressure building as you look at this timeline. The US harvest starts, 1 week goes by, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and crickets, no Chinese buyers. This creates this incredibly tense political waiting game where every day that goes by, the pressure mounts. And it's all pointing to one single moment, the big APEC summit meeting between the two leaders.
So what is this? Well, it's what's known as a negotiating tool. China is deliberately using its economic muscle, its massive demand for soybeans, as a form of leverage to try and get a better deal in the bigger trade talks. It's economic power politics, plain and simple.
But you know, this whole international standoff isn't just happening in some fancy boardroom. It's having a real and pretty devastating impact back home. So let's bring this story back to the American heartland and take a look at the view from there. And the fallout? Well, it's been immediate and it's been severe. You've got all sorts of political trouble brewing in the Midwest, a part of the country where farmers' voices are heard loud and clear. They are, as you can imagine, incredibly upset. They're looking at a complete loss of income. The entire year's harvest could be a wash. And things have gotten so bad that the US administration is actually talking about emergency financial aid.
And this is where things get really, really complicated. On one side, you've got the farmer's reality. Their single biggest customer has just vanished into thin air. And on the other side, the government's response is to offer a financial aid package that's paid for by the new tariffs, which are the very things that caused this whole mess to begin with. It's a pretty wild feedback loop.
So at the end of the day, all of this, the fate of an entire American industry, the livelihoods of thousands and thousands of families, it all gets funneled down and now rests on the outcome of a single, high-stakes political meeting.
And so we're left with the same huge question that all the experts are asking right now. After all this strategic pressure, after all this pain back home, is China's big soybean gamble actually going to work? Or has it just caused long-term damage to a relationship that took decades to build? As one analyst put it, is that really going to be some leverage for the Chinese? The answer? Well, it's not going to be found in the fields. It's going to be found at the negotiating table.